Hi everyone, how are you doing? Paul here from Singapore, greeting all of you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, praying and believing that all of you are safe, healthy, well, and in Christ, prosperous, even as your soul prosper in Christ Jesus. Today's sharing is from a very, very familiar passage, a passage which I believe most of you, if not all, would have heard one time or another, or several times before. It's taken from Matthew chapter 4, and it's talking about the temptation of Jesus Christ. And I personally, when I read this not too long ago, it just got stuck in my mind that it's such a powerful reminder for all of us, even as we go through this time of wilderness in this pandemic, how we are recovering, how we are going through. Some of us are coming to the tail end to reopen. Some of us are right in the middle. Some do not know where they are, so they are pretty confused of what's going on. But yet, at this time, I'm so amazed that this scripture that was written possibly 2,000 years ago has so much significance for us today here in this year 2020. I do not know about you, but sometimes when I read the scripture, I forget that the scripture was written thousands of years ago, by people I do not know, by a culture that I'm alien to, by, people with different tastes, different liking. Yet at the same time, we see that the scripture is evergreen, or is still so relevant to us today. So I just want to quickly take this time and read to you the passages where Jesus, we all know Matthew chapter 4 is talking about Jesus' temptation in the wilderness after 40 days of fasting. So the first verse in Matthew chapter 4 was that it was the Holy Spirit who led Jesus into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Strange, isn't it? He wasn't led by his own weakness because he had none. He wasn't led to be tempted by the abundance there because there was no abundance in the wilderness. But he fasted 40 days and 40 nights. And the next verse, the next part of it says, he was hungry. And then that's where the tempter came and said, if you are the Son of Man, verse 3, if you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread. But Jesus answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. We all know, if you read your Bible and you do cross-references, Jesus quoted 3 scriptures from Deuteronomy. So here he says, man shall not live by bread alone. I just want you to think with me, with all this pandemic going on, besides being safe, one of the main concerns is, how am I going to survive? If you're out of job, if your company is closed, if business is closed, if things are not normal, how are you and I, and for many millions, maybe billions of people, they would be worried not only of being safe physically, healthily, not spiritually, but physically safe from the virus, but they will be also concerned about how am I going to survive financially, economically, for the sake of my family. So they think of the first thing is about, where am I going to find food? And here Jesus very shrewdly said, with hunger, 40 days of no food, he's hungry. Think about this. Jesus says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. I really believe that if you are concerned about finances, not talking in terms of where do I get the next investment, billions or millions, where do I invest next, what are the next opportunity or bubble to go into, but talking in terms about livelihood. Jesus says it is the word of God that will cause you to live. He is the word of God. Because John tells us that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So here Jesus is actually saying, if you are worried about your finance, about livelihood, come to Him. He is the bread of life. Man shall not live by physical bread alone, but by every word. He is the word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Who is He? He is God. And therefore His words will sustain you, not only you spiritually, but His words will give you creative ideas, will give you avenue and guide you to where you ought to be, guide you to where God plans for you. You may not know the road, and I have discovered many a times in my journey with Christ that many a times I do not know the road that Jesus wants me to take. So I trot along with what I know, but my eyes is fixed on Him. And even though I'm discouraged and I'm tired sometimes, guess what? As I stick to His word, what He has spoken to me, on the word, on the direction He has given me, I find that God does beautiful things along the way and teach me beautiful lessons which I otherwise may not have learned. So man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So number one, if you are concerned about your livelihood, by all means, look for job, look for opportunity, but get into the word, get deeper into the word, because His word will surely bring you to the right place where He wants you to be, bring you to the right job, the right situation that God has positioned for you. Then it says in verse 5, devil took him to the holy city. So, you get involved into the word and you become holier, get involved there, and then set Jesus on the pinnacle, the very top of the temple, and says, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will give His angels charge over you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, you shall not tempt or test the Lord your God. So here in this time, do not try with your own understanding. If you have a sum of money and you want to see it, you see a great opportunity and you think that, by your own calculation and stuff like that, you want to really test God to go further than what you ever have been before. It says, all in. And, it's like what they call in the poker game, all in, call or whatever. I don't know. I don't play poker. But all in. But then what you are doing is that you are testing God, that God has to do your bidding and you are not led by God. He says here, you shall not tempt or you shall not test the Lord your God. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you have and you're able to doesn't mean you should. Because it's risky and it's foolish So it's best for us not just to sit back and do nothing, but to be at rest and trust Him that whatever opportunity opens, that we go to the Lord and we ask God for His wisdom, because it says, firstly, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Here, when you have the word of God, you will not test God. In fact, you will be led by the Spirit through His word to go into where He wants you to be. And with the resources that God has given you and becoming a good steward, you are able to benefit from God's wisdom, God's leading, God's guidance, God's word. Amen? Thirdly, and perhaps also to me, most importantly, it says, again, the devil took him to an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory, and says, all these things I will give to you if you fall down and worship me. And Jesus says, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and Him only shall you serve. Often I see that in our life, our challenges, our walk, when you have the word of God and you have the resources and you are a good steward and you begin to do the things that God tells you to do, and you become prosperous, you gain stature, you gain wisdom, you see many opportunities, and what do? You forget the Lord thy God. Deuteronomy 8 tells us, when you have entered the land flowing with milk and honey, a land of abundance, and you become rich and you live in good house and houses that you did not build, eat grapes from vineyard you did not plant, drink water from wells you did not dig. Remember, it is the Lord your God who gives you the power to get wealth. And therefore, it is here that we are reminded, here the 3 steps, that number 1, God knows that you are concerned about your livelihood. Number 2, God wants to give you the wisdom to make use for your benefit and for those around you and for everyone that you love, so that you are well taken care of by being good steward of not testing God and go silly, but being good steward and have His wisdom. And thirdly, that when you prosper, what you do is that you worship God with your prosperity and you serve Him by being so blessed that you are a blessing. I really believe that this time, that even for myself, I'm in Singapore, and since I came back from Australia, my last trip from March until now, I have not been able to travel, not been able to do the ministry that I'm so used to, and yet I can sit down and I think about how God has positioned all of us believers to give us a time of rest, to give us a time of consolidation, to give us the time to get deeper into the Word, even at this time. For we do not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God, and that we do not test God by wanting to do things on our own because we panic. Then as we allow God to lead us, grow us, prosper us, even as our soul prosper, what happens is that we must remember it is the Lord our God that we serve. So beloved, I just pray that as you keep safe and as you are healthy, that you will get deeper into the Word and allow the Holy Spirit to give you the wisdom, the Holy Spirit to give you understanding, the Holy Spirit to open up your eyes and see wider, greater, how God's goodness, God's grace, God's mercy, God's fullness is so ready to be in you and is already in you, but to be manifested through you. that you are so blessed to be a blessing unto others. Let me just pray for you as we close. Father God, in Jesus' name, I just speak, Lord, your beautiful words that we, as your children, do not live by physical bread alone, but by every word that comes out from the mouth of Jesus Christ. Faith comes by hearing, Lord, and is hearing the word of Christ. And as we see you, Jesus, more and more, we see the fullness that you purchased for us, so that we, the children of the living God, in Christ, in you, Lord Jesus, can be so blessed to be a blessing, not only to our families, our loved one, not so only protected to those who we know, but Father God, because of your goodness, that we are so blessed that we will use these blessings that is coming, that is already here, to be a blessing unto others. We thank you, Lord, and as I speak this over every person who hear this, I speak, Lord, Holy Spirit, guide them, teach me, expand our understanding in Jesus' name. And all glory, all honor, all praise goes to Jesus and Jesus alone. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you. Love you all. Have a wonderful time. The grace and peace of Jesus Christ be with you forevermore. Amen.